Yeah? All right, that's more like it. We have life here. Okay. Thanks for coming in early, particularly anybody that was around late last night for the Data Pop after party and/or those of us that made the hot tub. It's good to see everybody this morning, though. My apologies for the lack of bacon, clearly from the Twitter stream. I'm not the only one missing some greasy bacon this morning. My advice for next year's event is we do the healthy breakfast day 1, and we do the bacon day 2. Hopefully that's a little wink-wink for tomorrow morning, a return to bacon. So just for today, you know, we finished up yesterday discussing the economy, analytics, how to measure and put a value on search. Today's theme across the event is discussing the strategy, creative, and really get into the psychology of the consumer and why they search, how they search. And we talked a little bit yesterday about that around kind of remaining consumer-centric is the true ticket to successful search marketing. And we really want to flesh that out a little bit more today. And similar to the theme that I tried to throw down yesterday about being provocative as a group, I'd really encourage everybody today to really challenge the thinking, and let's really try and shake it up today and have a lot of questions and dialogue with the panelists and really try and think about how are we redefining search and what we do. Search from a consumer perspective has clearly become just this omnipresent thing they do. I mean, I even think of myself as a consumer. I don't file documents on my computer anymore. I don't organize anything. I just use the search box on the laptop on my MacBook to find anything I want. I've become very lazy. It's just what I do. I search in apps. I search in my phone. I search in the web browser. So search is everywhere, not just on the big 3 search engines. And so today we'll talk a little about syndication. We'll have a keynote from Google discussing about kind of the mindset of the consumer. So let's really start to think about that. And again, as I said yesterday, let's really try and drive and rethink kind of what we're doing and continue the trend of yesterday of having a very, very interactive group, particularly as we get a little bit later on today, a couple sessions in, we'll have a little bit of debate on what delivers better value for brands, search or targeted social. And what we heard from our friend Chris Copeland, search boss from Group M yesterday, was making fun of Neil from Citi, but there's a little truth in that. Yeah, Facebook has this really cool targeting, but how well does it work? How do I measure it? Can I track it? These are all largely unknowns. We know consumers are using it, and we know they're there, but we don't have the metrics that, as search marketers, we've kind of become accustomed to having to kind of prove what we do. Now, that debate, there'll be 2 people and a moderator up here, so it's fairly light from a traditional panel perspective. So it's supposed to be a debate, but instead of just having 2 people and a moderator sitting up here debate, I'd really encourage the audience to participate in that. And I would even think during that event, maybe Sergey and I can walk around with microphones instead of waiting Q&A till the end. Let's make that one a much, much more interactive session, and I think that'll be a very interesting one to have coming up third into the day after the keynote, really discussing the consumer. The second panel we'll have up here is really what is a perfect search engine, and as I said, if you think about it from a consumer, we really need to redefine how we even think of a search engine. It's not Google, Yahoo, and AOL. I saw some statistics 7 or 8 months ago. It's not up to date, but it was talking about out of the 22 billion unique searches a month, only about 14 of them occur on those big search engines. So that's only about 40% of total searches occurring on a search engine. The rest of that is occurring in Facebook and LinkedIn and apps and other places. So how do you define what is the perfect search engine? Maybe it's not even a search engine. Maybe it's just this kind of open source search algorithm that everybody applies everywhere, particularly when you think of mobile devices. Adobe, one of our sponsors, is coming out saying they're not going to support Flash anymore on mobile devices moving forward. So does that mean Apple was right in their mobile devices and walking away from Flash and focusing on HTML5? And what's the implication of search in that context, now that that data is out there and available, and everything's much more kind of personalized, much more dynamic? So I think it's a very interesting time for us to kind of go through and think about that content. So again, I want to hammer home again, let's keep this interactive. Keep the questions coming. And with that, I would like to introduce our very good friend from Google, Michael, to come up and talk to you about defining the connected consumer.